RPM comes from Red Hat. It stands for the Red Hat Package Manager. And way back in the day, you had to just install source code, and you can still do that. Manually compile it and everything. But Red Hat had this idea: why don't we take the binaries that come out and the documentation files, sometimes configuration files and source files even, and take them and put them all in one named file for that particular program, and allow people to archive them and install them and download them whenever they need to just put them in with a simple command. Today, the distributions, the large distributions that are using RPM are Red Hat, Fedora, Mandrake, SUSE, and there's countless other ones. RPM in of itself is a package also. You can install that, and you have the RPM capability. So what it does is it keeps a database, and the database stores the location of all these files and their names, and allows you to quickly see what's inside of them. Let's type in that first command and see what happens when I see all packages, just all packages. There's probably 4,000 packages out there for many larger distributions. And what I did here on the 5-disk system install was say, put them all in. I want everything off the CDs on there. So if you want to search for a certain package, you would say pipe, rep. I hope you guys can see that. Let's say KDE is what I want to look for. And these are all the packages that will be associated with KDE. Say a new version comes out, you go and grab these same kinds of ones and stick them right on your box there if you'd like.
There's a pole in the way.
Huh?
There's a pole in the way. Can you take care of that, seal? It wasn't an ethnic joke. It's a pole right there. Try it out. It's so fun.
Whoa, whoa.
You find anything that can fit under there?
No, I'm good. Don't worry about it. That was just a bad time.
Yeah, that's kind of part of the scene.
Actually, if you put it,
on a ceiling.
yeah, on the ceiling, it looks like that was working okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's well, yeah, we'll hire.
That thing's kind of expensive. Cameraman uses tools.
Smack. It's like
Here, let's put some on the back. And then,
turn it around the other direction and get less tilt.
Like this.
Stephan, turn the binder around the other direction, you might get better tilt.
It's just a box like a tinsel bowl. Dang. Tungsten bowl.
Extend the length.
As you stay. Come on.
Monkey's dying over here.
Mike, you heard that down. Thing. It's all right.
It's fine. If you break the ball, you're paying for it.
Okay.
Come right up front. Power strip everything by this one. Right here.
Okay, so obviously in a package you want to install and remove programs. And when you get a package, in this case, I already went and downloaded one, you can install it with the same command that is used to upgrade it. V stands for verbose, tell me what you're doing. And H, you're going to have to find out what that is. I'll show you in a while. Huh?
Shows the hashes.
Shows the hash is like a progress indicator for installing programs. And that's what it did here. It said, oh, it's already installed. Well, then I guess I'm going to have to demonstrate to you then how to uninstall it. And when you uninstall a program, you probably should take off that .rpm, .architecture, RPM, and I'll go ahead and find it for you. Cool. So the last command then, pretty much what happens, it goes and takes all the files. What files are inside of an RPM? I can't see it from the outside. So you want to look at it with the space dash Q, means query, L is list, list packages in the file, and files in a package, and P stands for package. And here they are. That's what's going to go where in your system. There's a few commands there that can do other things like find which package a file originally belonged to. In this case, if I go to this configuration file for the network time protocol program, it'll tell me that that's the version and name of the file that I installed initially. It's pretty cool. few other tricks that you can do with RPM. Find more information about a package, it'll do that just for you. What else? Yeah, if you have to delete files, RPM such as VA. I haven't hit this command yet. I was waiting to do it today and see what happens. Yeah, I recently edited that file, so if I wanted to do a search on that file, it would tell me which package I need to reinstall to override it, say. And the same thing goes for programs that aren't working. Say Paste isn't working, you do the same thing. And sometimes, yeah, on a different topic, you can get files instead of saying .rpm at the end. See, I have underline .src. That's what's called the source RPM. And that one needs to be rebuilt on its own for your computer. You got to have your compiler. GCC, for example, is one that I have in Portage that I'll show you real soon. Okay. Portage. Okay, SSH into my other box. This one is running SUSE on it. It's 9.2, and that one over there is running Gene2 2005. It'll upgrade automatically if you know how to do it right. Okay, Portage is a little bit different from Gene2 in that it doesn't have set packages that you have to physically get. You can have a program called Portage, and it'll actually go out and grab those programs for you, do searches on those programs for you, and compile them for you, and put them all on your computer in the same way that RPM did. But it's different here in that it contains this file called make.conf. Portage always goes to that file and says, what do you want me to optimize for your computer? What does that mean, optimize? Well, there are flags that we'll learn about later for certain programs that allow them to be built with certain features so that they can work with other programs using those same optimizations. And when you create your own Gene2 box, you want to say, okay, which hardware do I have that will bring out the most in which programs? And there's a whole listing of what are called use flags. That's what I'm talking about here, use flags. And you just select from there, put them in the make.conf file, proper order, the right syntax, along with these other variables. And these ones just tell your compiler, what to do in this way, and make these binaries fade out that come fashioned for your computer. And the cool thing about eMerge there is you get all your files off the internet. Well, what's out there and what version are they and everything. Well, when you hit sync as a part of the command in eMerge, it'll go out and take the whole Portage tree, which is the tree is just a list of directories of all of these programs, and get the newest one with all the newest information about the change logs, the version that's out there, and put it in your computer so that when you say, I want this certain package, it knows which ones to go out and get. It's taking a long time. But it comes back and says, hooray. Okay, and obviously that tree, you want to find out which packages are available. What can I do with them? You can do it manually. You can go and find that tree. In this case, I have it set by default in here. And these are all the different directories that you can browse through and learn about. That's nothing there. So let's say I wanted to get into X11 themes, see what's inside there. It's a bunch of themes. XMMS, if you use the media player XMMS, you'll know that you can have different skins on it for your desktop while it sits there and plays your music. And the thing about Gene2 that I found is that when they built packages, they put everything that they could find in it. And like XMMS, I must have hundreds of themes, and by just installing one package called XMMS themes. It was pretty cool. With other packages, with other the other distributions, you tend to have to go out and find these packages already built for you, or bring down each individual skin and drop it into a directory. Say, this one comes big directory of some guy's computer or whatever. And going on a little tangent there, but you can do the same thing with all this. Do the change logs, view which use flags. That's the most important part of browsing about portage tree. Which use flags that you're going to put inside of your make.conf file that's really going to bring out this program on your box. And you can do that here at this web page. But if you want to go ahead and look for what's inside of the portage tree based on just the package name alone, the same way we did in RPM, you can do something like this. This enlightenment is the name of the package of the window manager. Oops. That I'm running right now. So it'll tell you that stuff right there. And that's just from getting the name of the package. But if I wanted to search the description line of other packages, I can use a different flag here. And the point of this command, even though it's going to probably take a long time, is that there are more packages out there for enlightenment that don't have the name enlightenment in them. So it's a pretty good thing to do right here on your local box instead of having to go out and browse all these directories. Yeah.
Can I bring something to your attention as far as Gen 2 is concerned? They have what's it called, Gen Utils, or what's the package for?
I recently had to get it, but I haven't. Nothing's broken yet, so I haven't explored any of these better ways of managing portage.
Well, like this takes a really long time, but the other package, I forgot what it's called. I don't know it off the top of my head, but it's really quick and it'll give you a lowdown of different ways you can search for packages. It's a different package.
Wow. You have to do more reading on that. There's a lot of great tools for portage right now, and there's some amazing things you can do with, say, a bunch of computers on a network. Dist CC, dist upgrade. We'll keep them all in sync. And honestly, I run 3 commands: sync, update world, deep world over there, and emerge. That's pretty much it. And the third one would be individually installing a package at a time. And it really hasn't done anything bad in my system yet that I've heard about. Running some of these excessive flags, which I'll tell you about in a minute. But these other programs will
Gen
just prevent
Toolkit,
these.
that's it.
Gen Toolkit.
I remembered it just before it came up on my search. Yeah, Gen Toolkit. Has things like QPackage and crap like that.
eQuery, it's a good package for that stuff.
QPackage, eQuery.
And Etsy update is evil. Run dispatch conference.
Yeah, if you guys see anything I do here,
Oh yeah.
what they're talking about Etsy update, when you get a new program, you might have some new flags in your configuration files that need to be, appended to your current configuration files on your system. And Etsy update, which he's talking about, will supposedly compare the 2 files for you, let you choose things. I have 99 config files. I don't use it at all. Like I said, it doesn't break, so I don't run it.
Nice thing about dispatch conf is it uses RCS to keep versions of the files. So as it changes, where Etsy updates an all or nothing. You either accept it or not, or you merge it or not. There's not a lot of thought that goes in that dispatch conf. Any change that you make, you can immediately roll back. So,
Yeah, see, I thought, why couldn't it do this? That's pretty cool. So some of the commands in Portage are pretty intuitive there. Installing, just say emerge, like let's say K-Office if you wanted to install, for example. And again, you do search if you want to see the name of the package. But this is important too, package dependencies and its flags. That comes up right away without having to manually go and search all this stuff. So pretend what it does, and you can put pretend on any of these commands over here. It won't actually do the command. Obviously it'll show you what packages are going to come down, and it'll give you a full listing of the dependencies that everything that's going to come in. That e-build. Well, what's an e-build? I failed to mention that earlier, but that's what the Portage tree does. Is it keeps track of all these e-builds. And e-builds are like an RPM, right? It's just what's going to be installed on your computer for that particular program. That N means it's new to your system. You know, you would see U there if it's being upgraded. You know, that while Portage Tree just told you, we got a new one here. You'll see it blocked occasionally. That's pretty cool. It keeps other packages from conflicting with each other. You'll see B right there. There's a whole bunch of letters to let you know how it's going to interact with your system right here in those brackets. Read one. And updating the system, that's very important, of course. You know, you want if you like to stay updated, or you know, or you find a real reason to upgrade the program, like security enhancements or something else. Using these commands right here, World will do that for you automatically. Deep will take its dependencies, the dependencies of a newer package, and recompile all those. Also, say if you know, you get a new program and the other ones have newer versions also. The dependency of newer versions also do all that stuff. They'll do it all for you. Yeah, if you change your use flags, this is pretty processor intensive. It takes quite a while. But if you're going on vacation on a weekend and you added, you know, different hardware to your computer, and so you change your use flag, or you added, you know, new programs that can utilize use flags in other computers and other programs, then you would just type in that -- new use, and it'll go through your whole system, just remold it, reshape it. That's how I like to visualize that. All right, onward and upward. So we're going to go back to this computer, and give me some time to set up.
All those distributions use Debian packages, huh?
No, I don't think so.
Oh.
Right? The app to get is it's the same idea. Portage is a little newer, I think. It also keeps all the files out on mirrored servers and all for your programs, and bring them down automatically for you. These distributions are, you could say that some of them are Debian based, some of them are, you know, derived from Debian, and they also might use apt. I've personally installed Ubuntu and Xandros, and they have apt-get in them also. Benefit, yep.
You can also get app for RPM for any of the RPM-based distributions too.
Totally, dude, totally.
Exactly.
If you have a distribution that doesn't have apt and you really like apt, and believe me, I love apt. I've discovered it, and it's pretty old. This SUSE right here is RPM based.
I use it for Fedora. It makes it so nice.
And the bad thing about older RPMs is if you have dependencies on these RPMs, you got to go out and physically find those RPMs, you know, all manually. And what you can do is just download and install apt for RPM, and that's what I did here. I have the commands. I have at the end. And what you can pretty much do is run all the same commands in apt-get, and it'll download all the same programs and, you know, install them for your system there. And this is what I'm running right now. Oh, shit, someone's computer. Well, obviously there are sources, and there are servers out there that contain all these files, and you have to like Debian. I mean, like Gentoo, you have to keep the system tree, so to speak, updated with the newest programs, packages that are out there, so you can see what you can install on them. Oh, the thing I'm sorry I wanted to mention, I just came to my head right now. Yeah. Portage and apt totally resolve all your dependencies for you. That's a point right there.
What?
It's a freaking point. So, anyway. If you want to start browsing the cache, so that's what happens when, you know, apt-get goes out and grabs all these new programs. You just type in this command here, apt, oh, it should be root. You should be root.
Actually, you should still be able to use apt cache even when you're not root.
Oops.
You just can't install when you're root.
Oh. Groovy. Okay. So apt-get, that program, apt-get, is for installing and removing programs, whether they be, if you want to do it from source, which we'll see later. Apt-cache is for viewing and searching files. Apt-file, which we'll learn about later here, does sort of reverse queries that we saw in RPM, finding out which packages belong to which files belong to which packages. We do a search in apt-cache here just to show you real quick how cool it is if you need to install this web server here. And it'll come up with a list of files the same way. And this one is different from RPM in that you can see a short description of which packages are going to come across here with the name of each of these sub-packages and their dependencies. You won't learn the dependencies, though, unless you ask it what depends on these packages. And all this is doing is giving you a list of what you have that could possibly be installed. Say I already have Apache inside of there installed, but I want that PHP, I want something PHP. You can really see it right here. I need a PHP module to run, PHP so that I can have my cool homepage or whatever. Then you would say grep PHP, whatever, you get all the PHP related stuff, and after that you say apt-get install. See right here how to install and remove programs. Each package name. And what I failed to mention, and that's the same in all of the package managers pretty much, is you just space each file name or program name that you want to install after the command, and you'll just take them all at once. And of course, with apt and portage, their dependencies also. And there are options in Portage that you can just download dependencies or just build the dependencies and do sort of different angles of attack to solve your problem there. So here I would say, well, shoot, I want to install that. The program I have up there, that for example is nmap. Instead of apt-cache, we would use apt-get. And let's use nmap then. So it'll go, okay, is it over there? Oh, you already have it installed. Just like that other one. What's the delete command? Remove. Thank you. Like I said, it's really new to apt, but it's pretty tight because Portage is different in that you have to compile all these programs individually, and it can take time. If you have a slower processor, so you might want to stay away from Gene2. Apt-get is real quick. It'll just bring down, the programs that need to be executed. There's a command to accept right here. If you can see /y, accept Y with these queries. You can even background it, and it'll go and do all that stuff for you. The background command is implicit for that Y option. I'll take that also. But I got Pentium 2 300 laptop, and I thought, well, what if I put Gene2 on it? Well, yeah, it'll be a little bit quicker at first, but as I install stuff later on, that laptop's gonna get to be on for so long. I just put Debian and more recently Ubuntu on it. More recently is like 2 nights ago, and it's cool. All this old hardware is running so quickly, nicely, and it's connected to a package manager that's on the internet. And I could have done that with any other distribution that was, let's say, RPM based, and use apt for RPM.
Another tip: if you've got a bunch of machines that you do a lot of HTTP downloads with, and you use the same sources a lot, get a machine with Squid on it.
How would we do that?
Well, depends on your machine. If you have another machine that's just lying around, in my case, I have a machine that does all my NAT. I install Squid on it. I've got a largish hard drive in there that's used as my cache, and I have like half a dozen machines I go through all the time, and it downloads it once, and everything else, if it makes a cache hit, boom, it'll come out of my Squid box.
Huh.
You just increase your cache time so that it keeps a cache for X amount of days or what have you.
I haven't tweaked it that much, but I do know one thing. You do have to, if you like, for example, use the default Debian cache, the default Debian install of Squid, you also have to increase the size of your the cacheable objects, because some packages can be like 32 megs, and the way Squid is distributed in that case assumes just like normal web browsing instead of something like apt or whatever you're using that happens to use HTTP for its vehicle.
By default, Squid is a FIFO. It's not a time. They don't have a lifetime, other than like if there's a crack in the header or something like that. Like an object. It'll honor those headers and cache it for, it expires on said day. Otherwise, it'll just cache the objects. It doesn't matter how big they are. The real fun thing was I had Windows Win2K SP3, I think it was, cached on our Squid box for a few days, and it just smoked. Because I was running around, I had my coworker running around doing all the updates manually, and it just smoked. I mean, the first one was just painful because it was 70 megs over T1, and then all the rest of them were 70 megs at 100 meg full duplex.
Right.
And it was just done. And it gets a bump every time you reutilize it. So the FIFO flops around. And it's cool because everything on the page, every object on the page is cached separately as an individual object. So if you have, some image on there, you keep getting that same image from the cache, whether you're the same user loading it and caching it on your local browser or some other user. We use Squid extensively at the city, so it rocks in a tiered environment, in a single standalone environment.
That would help me a lot. What I did is I had 7 computers at my college, and I used a script on one computer. I logged every apt-get command that I was using to make it do what I want, and I took that script and ran it on every box, and it had to physically go out on its own connection and bring all those files down. What they're talking about, Squid, is a proxy server that will store what comes across the one gateway and keep it on that box, on that hard drive space you're talking about there. And so then you just distribute it over your LAN X million amount of times without having
You only download it once.
Yeah. So there's some more hints there for using apt-get, and there's a lot, believe me. There's stuff that I haven't even got into yet. It's awesome. And I want to install it. So that I can see it scroll and give me commands. Output. Yeah, the same way, apt file here. Suppose you have a program that's just stopped working for some reason. It's corrupted, or somebody changed the file. Like let's say awk, AWK is a typical program on your command line there. It stops working for you. Well, you just say apt file search the location of that file, and it'll tell you this slot count down there, that's the name of the package that's containing this file. So you would say apt-get reinstall, install slot count, and it'll bring that thing down for you again, even if it is already installed like we saw it happen before, and put it all back in your computer for you. Not to worry about it. And of course, if what's that? I'm doing on that file. I don't know what that bottom command is.
Which?
LD.
Apt file list PHP4.
Oh.
I probably should change that to the name of the module that we were searching on before. And I'll tell you which files are inside of that module that I wanted to install for Apache, what's going to go onto my web server there. Yeah, mod PHP. Yeah, and the command that was just shouted to me right now, apt-get remove it. I install stuff, I forget, I just leave it on repeat remove usually. I got a huge hard drive. Bring it all, give me it all. The bad thing about that though is, like let's say RPM, if you have so much in there, it's going to take forever for it to query and search, If you did the install all option, here you go, every time you need to search for something, there's this huge database file that RPM is maintaining. And so, then that's official bloat. Right, Robert? Bloat regulator?
I'm an odd person, so I'm not going to comment on RPM or anything.
Yeah, I don't like RPM. I forget it. I don't know if it affects the speed, installing more and more stuff of these other packages, but I imagine it, it's still not too bad.
It's a Berkeley DB database, so
I thought
even if it's several gig, it's not going to be that bad to search.
I don't know the format there. This is a 700. That one over there is 1.7. and it's doing totally the job I need. When I'm working 2 computers at once, you don't need to worry about how long it takes wherever. You know, this is great.
Yeah, you just become memory and I/O bound on that. That's all.
And so the remove of programs, configuration files, there's another command for that. And what I was talking about before, staying updated, like emerge sync, so to say. apt-get has the same thing, apt-get update. Space-U, I think, will list all the files for you. And it'll just go down and take whatever programs you have already installed. If they have newer versions, install those ones instead, right over them. There it goes. And as you can see, it'll go and grab each individual package. And I think, Steve, you asked, are they all Debian packages? I recently read some discussions about how Ubuntu doesn't use the same packages as Debian. That might be bad for Debian or something. They're not all from the same, like, ebuild or whatever. Ebuild only has one sort of thing.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just saying that it would be surprising if Debian packages work with all of them.
My question is, is apt-get distribution specific, like with the packages that you can install on it?
I don't think so.
No. In fact, I'm using Ubuntu files in one of my Debian systems right now. I'm migrating away from x386 to x.org, for example. I just did it on a machine this morning.
Cool.
Yeah, it uses the exact same format and everything.
Huh. I don't know what that discussion was all about.
But I know they basically take, from what I understand, the way they make these systems is that they take a snapshot of SID, then they start making sure everything is working properly, make sure that all the security holes are closed, et cetera, and make sure it's a nice polished system, and those get contributed back to Debian. So.
Oh. That's cool. And here it updated for this computer. I think I did it in about maybe 2 weeks. These are the packages that came down. Cron job, I guess you could set up if they're it's like a timed script, a timed execution that you could set for certain commands to run at a time. And you can put this on there, and it'll be run in the background. You wouldn't know it. Keep your system updated. And then all of a sudden, it'll break, and you'll go, "What the? I didn't run any commands." So you gotta remember that you set up cron job to do these sorts of things. That can be done with portage, emerged also. Okay, I had to do this recently. I didn't have, or I installed a program called AutoMake with apt-get, and what it is, it pulled down a 1.4 version for some reason. I couldn't figure it out. Whether it was a release of Debian I was using or something, I don't know. So I went for the quick solution to manually get a higher version off, and this is what I was told to do. Apt-get -b source, grab the source file that I was told that was out there, AutoMake 1.7. And when I did that, it spat out this .dev file here, and so I ran a dpackage --i command install. I don't know if it's the way to think about it. I kind of went around the normal process, I don't know, or went right through it to get the source instead. I haven't done too many source installs. If you remember me saying, back in the day, you had to get the source code and manually install that out of your compiler. This is kind of what's happening right there. And I did that. The program that was complaining that version was too old totally stopped. And it said, I just ran that apt-get build dependencies, and so that AutoMake could run in itself, and it did great. And that show source, I guess, is a pretend. Let's see what happens if I did that. This is doing it out that cache. Oh yeah. What it's telling me right here is that the etc apt sources.list file, which contains locations of servers that have all these programs, doesn't have a list of servers that will contain source files, and so it needs one of those on there. And too much talk, not enough show, huh? Yeah, this one has updates on it and security packages or whatever on it, and because I'm running SUSE on here, this server that I was that I pointed it to has this users for SUSE packages also, and I'll show that pretty soon here. Apps for RPM also is what we thought of us talking about here for a while, and I should pull up that web page right now to show you all the different instructions they have for different distributions and installing apps. 'Cause I think it's great. It's just fairly new to me. And there's app how-to. It's pretty much where most of these commands on this presentation came from. So if you want to get into a little more in-depth there, go for it. And that's pretty much it. I'm just going to pull up that last slide and say, have at it.
Right on. Does anybody have any questions or want to start a discussion on something?
So, there's also one along to go with like apt-get. If you're on like, if you're using Fedora, there's also Yum, which is kind of basically does the same thing like apt does.
Oh, yeah.
Yum is like apt-get. I installed Yellow Dog Linux, which is a PowerPC Macintosh capable distribution there, and it had Yum in it. And that's my first use app.
I think Yum, that's where Yum comes from, but Red Hat started using Yum for Fedora.
That's cool.
Does anybody know if RPM keeps a log when it's trying to do install?
Almost everything
Log
keeps
of
a
what?
log of some sort.
A log of what it's doing. I tried to install an
Right,
RPM
log.
package the other day and it started reading the headers and just died.
Did you try the -v switch verbose to tell it? Because I think you can put up to like 3 Bs or something. It'll get more and more verbose as you go on the command line. You know, tell you exactly what it's doing if you're trying to troubleshoot a problem.
There's one other thing that Stephan didn't mention. Whenever you're installing a kernel on a RPM-based distribution, do not update it. Use the I, because you can update. You can have multiple kernel packages installed, and it'll be fine. Normally, you don't want that.
Crazy.
But if you use the I instead of the capital U, use the lowercase I, and it'll install it. That way, you still have your old kernel to fall back if the new one doesn't work, or I've had it not, for some reason, just get goofed up, and I don't get an entry, and
And what about those?
my grub doesn't get, this entry doesn't get put in there correctly, and then it just like.
So it keeps the source directories too and user source?
Yes,
All the
well,
other
no,
ones.
for the source files for under the Red Hat, the RPM, it's in like a weird, it's like user source Red Hat, and that's where all the source files, if you install a source RPM, that's where they go.
Okay.
It's kind of a weird thing is, if you need them somewhere else, for like your kernel files or whatever, you create a symlink.
Yeah.
It's a little goofy, but.
And what does it do for those of us who can't leave well enough alone and get something straight from kernel.org and then make our own, and then place our own
Well,
package?
you can do, that's just a kernel pack, just put it wherever you want and compile it. It won't show up in the.
It won't show up in the database, yeah.
Yeah, in the
Okay.
database. It won't.
Sounds just
you
like-
can you can compile your own packages and whatnot, like any other thing, and just it'll go to user throw it in user local, and it doesn't do anything. But if you have something, if you install, say, from source, you install a library or something like that, and then you install some package later on that requires a dependency for that package, it's going to be like, well, you don't have that package here. I'll install it, and you're going to end up, with some weird stuff going on. You end up with what they call dependency hell.
Oh, yeah.
I had it happen with Yap app. You can, on your config files, you can have multiple servers for different stuff. And what happened is I was using, there's a site, I think it's KDE Red Hat or Red Hat KDE or something like that. They make KDE packages specifically for Red Hat releases, and it's the actual straight KDE stuff. It's not, where Red Hat takes the KDE packages and kind of tweaks them. There's been a lot of.
Yeah, I should have said that too. There are pretty good sites that do that.
Because like they take out I don't know, usually under help on like a KDE package, under help it'll say about KDE. Well, they go through, they take it out because they believe it's redundant. You're looking at that particular application rather than KDE.
I've found a lot of those RPMs that are made specifically for distribution that say .mdk on them or whatever at this place right here, rpmfind.net. And rpm.pbone.net also has, it's a pretty good search engine also, so you could actually search what they have in there by like file name, also package name, and bring the RPM down to your computer there. And yeah, if you want to do online stuff like these other programs, like Mandrake has Mandrake Online. It's really cheap, and you can get all this stuff. Same way Red Hat Network does, and SUSE has online update, free.
Yeah, the Red Hat Network is if you actually have the Red Hat, the enterprise systems. It's not available.
Why are there different RPMs for distribution?
Like you said, they can be tweaked. They can have different files.
Oh, you mean like if you can take like a Mandrake package and install it on a Red Hat machine?
Right.
Talking about? Yeah, I've done it before. As long as it's using the same, it has the same GCC for all the libraries are the same stuff. It'll work. Sometimes not everybody's running the same. There was like some issues whenever Red Hat like jumped to 296 or whatever. It wasn't an actual GCC release or whatever, glib release, whatever it was, and there was all kinds of problems happened over that. But yeah, I've done that before, and usually like even with if you'll see them like for the Red Hat packages, you'll see like now with Fedora Core, you'll see FC1, FC2, FC3, and FC4 now it's in testing. And so you might go to a repository and it'll have, you go into the directory and you'll see you'll see all these different releases, and in the app sort, in the app file, you'd show those particular ones that you want. You just insert them in there for whatever you want. You just insert a line in there, and with app you can either use the one main source.list or whatever, or you can go to you can create individual files like individual servers, and so you can have different sections on it. Like one server might be having a section for updates, maybe for like third-party package. They're not official. A lot of them, what they do with app, there's some people out there, they run a mirror. Basically, they mirror Red Hat's updates, and then they create an app server based on that, a repository. And so they'll have all those, but then they might have other packages. Like there's one company, or this guy, it's DAG. He does a lot of the third party, or a lot of packages that Red Hat won't include for licensing reasons. Like he has the lib I think they have the lib DCSS to watch DVDs and a lot of stuff, MP3 players, it's like XMS, stuff like that. Get rid of the package you got from Red Hat and go get a newer package that has the actual stuff in it that you want.
Yeah, there's a similar archive for Debian sites, which has a lot of encumbered packages, such as Acrobat, such as anything that wants to do DVDs, anything that happens to be patent encumbered, such as that may be patent encumbered, like some MP3 stuff, as well as stuff like the MPEG-4 based stuff, such as XVID or anything like that.
That's the same way with Red Hat. Red Hat's like, if it's not GPL or it cannot be patent encumbered, it can't be, it's got to be some kind of a GPL compliant license. Otherwise, they will not include it.
Or in the case of Debian, it's the Debian's free software guidelines.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity, maybe we can go around the room and see what each of our favorite distributions is. I'd be curious about that.
Go ahead, Steve.
I like Gentoo. Gentoo is the only distribution I really use, but I started off on Red Hat with Mikey back, was that 4 years ago?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mikey got me involved in that, and then I used Mandrake, and then I used Debian, and then I settled on Gentoo, and I've been using it ever since. How about you, Ian?
I myself currently am using Debian on all my systems, but I am now starting to mess a little bit with Ubuntu, notably so I can migrate my X machines over to x.org, and you'll probably be hearing a lot more of that in the future because of a spat that went on with the X386 group and a licensing change that they made. And in the past, I've used Slackware, and prior to that, I used SLS, which was about 12 or 13 years ago.
Wow, it's a long span.
Yes, in fact, the machine. I think when I first started using Linux, it was I'm not sure if it was MCC, which was one of the very, very first distributions out there, but it wasn't actually a fully installable like the SLS was. But it was enough to get a machine going, and was at least got you going. And then SLS, I think, was the first one to offer that I knew of a complete system, including X.
My first one was Sousa, and then I started playing with Gene 2 right after that. Red Hat was before that, and I gotta say I stuck with Gene 2 mostly. If I want to do another project, I would probably use Debian or Ubuntu.
I use the Memphis version of Debian.
That's what you've settled on. I know you went through a
Yes,
couple
I
distributions.
started with Red Hat, but I settled on Memphis.
Memphis has this apt-get too.
Yep.
Yes.
It essentially uses SID, I believe.
I know you use Memphis also.
Yes.
How's that?
I like it because of the apt-get.
Oh, apt-get.
I've played with Susie. Susie's not bad. I like that as well, but I particularly care for Memphis.
Steve?
Basically, Mandrake was the first one that got an easy install that worked all the way through. I played with about 4 or 5 smaller ones on older machines, and I still got them installed. But that's the one I've loaded on several machines. It seems to work the easiest for me. I'm not that into tweaking it. And use several different live distributions when I'm playing on other machines, SOSAs as well as the originals. And
You got me onto
even
damn
try
small
Feather
Linux.
as a small one.
Yeah, you got me into damn small Linux and a little CD and 6 megabyte file.
I have no idea what I'm doing. I would like to partition off a 200 gig hard drive I have, put them all on there and play with them.
Yeah.
VMware.
You probably do it with a 200 gig hard drive.
Yeah.
How about you guys over there?
I originally started out with SUSE 7.3 way back then, and but you know, with the help of Steve and other guys here in the group, settled on Gen 2 and started to deploy it now a little bit more at work. We're predominantly on Windows or Microsoft House, and so I guess the best yet to come.
How about you guys?
You guys are just here to.
This are free CDs. I brought some Ubuntu CDs.
My name's Stan, first time here.
Hi, Stan.
I'm running Red Hat 9 and trying to get my organization moving more in the Linux direction. Windows.
That's awesome.
What
So you-
organization? Yeah.
Fresno County.
Oh yeah, I've met a few people from the tech departments. Not everyone in person.
Fedora right now. Let's see, I've settled with Debian a little bit, and I guess, of course, probably Triple Linux.
Yeah, Turbo Linux.
Turbo Linux. Well,
When I first installed about 98 was one particular company that everybody hates in Utah. And then I started at about 99, I started with Red Hat 5.1 and been pretty much with them all the way through for 2 or 3 years.
man.
Pretty much most of the, I don't know if there's any other distributions that I didn't, any versions that I didn't install on some particular machine at some point in time. Of course, I still do have a Red Hat 7.2 box running the server at the office.
Wow. Yes.
It works. It's like, it's been up for
Long man.
3 years. I think I installed that 3 or 4 years ago.
What's uptime say on it?
Oh, uptime, well, it's been, I don't know, ask PG&E how long they keep power. We've had more problems in the last 6 months with losing power. You know, it's right next door to the airport. But that's usually what happens, because if it goes off when I'm not there, then it goes off for half an hour and the UPS just shuts the machine down.
I've
I've had-
going in the power. Somebody hit power pole.
I've had 6 months to a year. Yeah, I think our last one was actually somebody smacked the power pole over there on Chestnut between Clinton and Shields.
Ouch.
I guess, well, I don't know
That
if
was
they smacked it
it.
or if a transformer blew, because I was sitting there.
That was auto versus pole because we lost 6 sites.
Okay, I know I got there.
Auto versus pole.
I was on Monday morning, I took my brother to work.
Pole lost. So did the car. Both of them lost.
How about you, Robert?
I don't run Linux. Bill Gates is my master.
I knew you were.
And if anybody believes that, I have a Ocean in Arizona.
I've run just about one of everything. The first version of Linux that I ran had a 0.92 kernel, I think, something like that. It was out of a book called Linux Unleashed. The book was totally freaking useless, and I actually had to go buy hardware to fit what would run Linux. My video card didn't work, so I ripped it out. It cost me about $200 to run Linux, but I was in a obstinate phase. Lately, the distro I'm looking at playing around with now is called SourceMage. It's all Bash scripting, and if you guys have listened a little bit, I'm kind of getting into Bash Foo quite a bit. It's all Bash scripting. The whole design behind the distro isn't to have the latest and greatest bleeding edge stuff, which is kind of what Gen 2 is all about, but it's to make it so that a clued-in sysadmin can get exactly what they want out of the package. It parses the configure-help file for all the options and then presents those to you as a sysadmin.
Those dash
to pick every one of them.
That's
You can pre-configure it if you want, to where you can tell it to just do what it thinks is saying, or you can. I mean, it's pretty cool. But I've been playing with that recently, trying to make it a transparent bridge for home. That's about it. Other than that, I do this for work.
what about you, Mikey? Oh, I'm sorry.
What's your name?
I'm Bill. I'm first time here.
Nice to meet you, Bill. Stephan.
All my computers run Red Hat 9, and kid across the street installed them all with RPM. But I'm trying to learn what he did.
Write this down when you're done.
Pardon me?
Tell him to write it down when it's doing his done.
I think we're at an NA meeting.
Hi, Bill!
My name's Mike. I'm a Linux alcoholic.
Yeah, hooked on Linux.
Hooked on Linux for, what, 4 years now?
5 years.
4 years, 4 or 5 years. I can't lose track. But anyways, I started out with Red Hat 6.2. Didn't really like that version. Probably because I wasn't very good at it. But really started getting into it when Red Hat 7 came out. And that's when Steve
Yeah, I did 7 too.
Steve and I really got into it in the IS department because we'd fix computers all day, and then all of a sudden we'd be like bored and we'd be like, hey, let's learn Linux. So now learn Linux all day. And then from there, I went from Red Hat 7.2 is my last distro with Red Hat, and then I went to Mandrake because I thought Mandrake was a little better in the graphics department and gaming department. That's where I like to play in the games and so forth. So after that, Mandrake was pretty much my primary distro until Steve introduced, and everybody else introduced Gentoo, and I tried it, and I'm like, this is the bomb, man.
Yeah, he introduced me to it.
This is the bomb. I love Gentoo, and I've never gone back. All my machines in the organization, besides the machines that have been running around since the dinosaur days, are Gentoo, and I'm running a couple of Red Hat boxes. But that's been about it. It's been Gentoo since then. And all my primary machines at home are Gentoo. I don't even have Windows. I've been Windows free for almost a year and a half now.
Okay, it does sound like it.
I've been Windows free for the same time as you, so I feel your pain, but
Yeah.
I know how good it feels now.
Fight power. Fight power.
Thanks for the presentation, Stephan.
Yes, thanks.
That was awesome, bro.
So do it again, too.